The final part of this slide we're going to talk about is the era of remedial action. The idea of, well, we've oppressed black people for, a couple hundred years now in this country. What do we do to even the score, and how far do we want to go? The clearest form of remedial action comes in the way of creating quotas for ethnic minorities. So the first Supreme Court case we're going to talk about now is Bakke versus the UC Regents, decided in 1978. Alan Bakke, coincidentally of Bakke versus UC Regents, was a 35-year-old white man who had twice applied for admission to the University of California Medical School at the Davis campus. He was rejected both times. The school had reserved 16 places in each entering class of 100 for qualified minorities, as part of the university's affirmative action program in an effort to redress long-standing, unfair minority exclusions from the medical profession. Bakke's qualifications, college GPA and test scores, exceeded those of any of the minority students admitted in the 2 years Bakke's applications were rejected. He contended, first in the California courts, then in the Supreme Court, that he was excluded from admission solely on the basis of race, which was illegal according to Bakke. So the question here is, did the University of California's system violate the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause and the Civil Rights Act of 1964 by practicing an affirmative action policy that resulted in the repeated rejection of Bakke's application for admissions to its medical school? In a 5-4 decision, the court ultimately said that rigid quotas were against the rules and decided that they should be outlawed. In a weird case where the Fifth Justice signed on to both the opinion and the dissent, Justice Powell also agreed that race could be used as a criterion for admissions, just not the only one. This controversy goes on through time, with a number of states, including Michigan and Florida, attempting to ban the use of race in admissions or hiring decisions entirely. It's clearly a controversial issue for people. Do we give preference to minorities and punish a generation of white people who have less access to elite institutions? Or do we continue the systemic discrimination where far more white people have access to these elite institutions by virtue of their race and the school system they attended, education of their parents, and legacy admits, and all the other advantages that come with being a member of the dominant social group? It's not an easy to fix, and it's one that your generation will be responsible for solving because mine and the ones before it have failed pretty miserably.